organ which we have in church today is effectively the third organ to have stood in the church. The first organ was installed in the year 1824. It was a second-hand organ, apparently made by one Edward Riley of York, of whom we know nothing, except that he did do restoration work on the organ at Holy Trinity Church in Hull. Riley's organ, which probably dated from the latter years of the 18th century, was followed by Forster and Andrew's first organ in the church. This was the 9th organ which the firm had built, and was built in 1846. It was situated on the opposite side of the church from where the present organ stands. It was in a gallery roughly over what is now the Lady Chapel, and it did have various moves up and down that part of the church, but it was always in that area. Interestingly enough, this organ still exists, and it is the oldest surviving Forster and Andrews organ to have been, well, rather to be in playing condition today. As I said, it was the 9th organ which they built out of some 1,378 instruments, and it is now located in St George's Church, West Grinstead in Sussex. It was followed by the basis of the present organ, the 1890 Forster and Andrews organ, which was located on the north side of the church, down at the bottom of what we now know as the Barnabas Chapel. In the early years, the very early years of the 20th century, the organ was moved up a bay into its present position. It was a 3-manual instrument of some 25-26 stops, very soundly constructed by a very reputable firm of organ builders. It's had a checkered history. As early as the period of the First World War, there were moves afoot to have a restoration of the instrument. And a meeting was organised with the church wardens of the time, and as he then was, Dr., later to be Sir Edward Bairstow, the organist of York Minster. Unfortunately, the date chosen happened to clash with the very day which the First World War broke out, and so nothing came of it. And really, nothing came until 1954-55. Apart from maintenance by Forster and Andrews, a cleaning in the 1930s, installation of an electric blower, because prior to the mid-30s the organ had been hand-blown.
This piece here that Neil is actually drilling live is part of the manual draw stop actions. We're making new ones because the old ones, the actual timber was not particularly stable. It was curling up and reacting badly to temperature and humidity changes. So this one here is mahogany, which is much stabler timber, and what's happening at the moment is all the holes and grooves and channels for the wind to get through it to operate the system are just being the pedal board here all covered up to prevent it from dust. New pedal board, which is all ready to go in when we've fitted out the bottom of it. There's a little complication down at the bottom there with the toe pistons for the organist, another further playing aid for him to actually put his feet on, press the button, and different combinations of stops will come out. There's basically two woods on that. There's or dare I say 3, because this curvy bit is made up with plywood, which is actually bent in a press and then glued together to get the curve on it like that. The framework is all oak, and the actual pedal sticks here are actually made of beech, European steamed beech, which is fairly hard wearing. Obviously it's off the side. We basically had to make a jigsaw puzzle to actually get the right width using all the existing panel work on it. That's all been cleaned down, re-sealed and re-waxed. It looks rather different to how it did before. We thought, as the console is going to be all virtually new in it, we'd clean that up so the whole side looked nice. There will be pipes up on here above the head as they were on the side case before. Inside the console, we've gone for totally refitting it out. We've had a look at, explored the possibility of using the old console parts, but when we looked at them, we certain difficulties in matching up the wood, so we thought we'll go for new, and then it looks uniform throughout. Very much at its early stages now, no draw stop solenoids in no stops, just literally the holes where they'll ultimately end up. The keys here, new top resistance keys, far better than before, feels more like you're playing a tracker organ even though you're not actually playing a tracker organ, but there's a little bit of resistance just at the top to give the effect of the wind rushing through the pallet valve as you press the key if you were playing a tracker organ. Like that, and that'll be screwed onto there, and then that hole there meets up to this hole here, which exhausts, it gets a charge of wind through, the wind just escapes up there and goes back through there in the hole and keeps that blown up like that, that little purse there. And then when the armature is activated, sucks down, and instead of the wind going up through there and out there, it goes from that hole and exhausts out the front of there, and so that will just, the wind pressure inside this chamber will pull it down and it creates the movement. So it's either that way or that way, all controlled by this tiny little armature here.
Right, well the first task we have to do, in fact, is to line the inside of the roof, so that whereas there has been some rain damage in the past, it's supposed to have been repaired, and I'm sure it has been, but in case any drip should come through, then we shall line the inside of the roof with a corrugated plastic. And then after that, the task of assembling the organ begins. So we should begin with the largest pedal soundboards, in fact the ones that we've already filmed in the workshops, and Nigel, who's been painting the pipes behind us here, those will, when they're dry, we shall then erect on the soundboard. So the building frame will go in, trunk will go in, and then we shall start hauling up the pipework. Well, the basic material is Forster and Andrews from 1890, so it's done extremely well. It's all good material. In fact, it's the younger material dating from about 1954 that was probably of less good character. So most of that has disappeared. I think all of it's disappeared.
Right.
So we should, in effect, be going back to basics with the Forster and Andrews soundboards, pipework, and then with quite a lot of new added. Wood's no longer seasoned in the way it was once, of course. Forster and Andrews, in fact, maintained their own forests, and wood would be left for 10, 5 years, whatever, air drying.
Right.
And one other task we should do then is to move the blower to its new position at the back of the chamber, and then assemble its enclosing cabinet, insulate it acoustically, and then after that the main frames with the main soundboards for the Great Swell Choir manuals with their underactions and winding will then come from the workshops, so we shall then place those in the chamber, and a lot of the rest of the chest then relate to those. Now here we have the new pedal trombone, 16-foot rank, which is added to the organ. And these particular pipes work with a reed as opposed to the normal ones with the flue. And you can see here, I think, this works rather similarly perhaps to a reed orchestral instrument such as a clarinet, orchestral clarinet. We have a mouthpiece. On the mouthpiece is a reed. In the orchestral version it's cane, but in an organ it's made of brass, very slightly curved so that it can vibrate. When this is in its socket, the wind comes up through the foot, makes the reed vibrate, and it's tuned by varying the amount of reed which vibrates. The less reed, sharper the pitch; the more reed, the lower the pitch. Tuned with this, and then into the top goes the resonator, so that amplifies the sound, gives it its character. This will produce a good, loud, really fruity note. Pipe is capable of being tuned. Some of them have little tin tuning slides that you may have seen on the entry pipes.
Robin demonstrated one.
That's right. Some of the wooden ones have wooden stoppers. Some of the open wooden ones here have little flaps which turn on to tune. And because tuning is affected directly by temperature, because sound travels faster in warmer air than it does in cold air, then as the temperature in the building rises between summer and winter, then we shall need to adjust the tuning to reflect that change. So most of the pipe work in an organ goes up and down together. The organ was sharp before, so it meant that if you played it with orchestral instruments, they had a problem tuning with it. So we should be flattening the pitch of the organ to the standard, the current standard. Of course, when Forster and Andrews originally set it, there was no common standard, so every organ builder had set his own pitch. Maybe another one. It's in. It's in. Every instrument's different. They all present different challenges, but this certainly has presented its challenges in a different way. But I know from the basic material with which we began that it will come up brilliantly, and it should be quite a difference in sound. In fact, when we're putting the organ back, we have reorientated it through 90 degrees, so all the sound will come through the western arch instead of speaking south across the chancel as it did before. So this will in itself have quite a significant impact on the sound as heard in the building. So I think that, with all the work that will have been done to the sound walls and to the pipework, should make quite a stunning difference in sound. So we all look forward immensely to hearing exactly what it will be like.
Most Reverend Father in God, I offer to you the key of the restored console doors as a symbol of our completed work on this organ.
On behalf of myself as patron of the appeal and of the parish whose ministry I share, I am happy to accept your work for rededication and thank you most sincerely for your skill